Is the soft tanking already starting? Bojan Bogdanovic is doubtful tomorrow with Achilles soreness. Who could benefit the most if this is indeed the start to the soft tanking by the Pistons? We're going to talk about this in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 5,000 subscribers. Or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com. Use promo code Locked On. So I believe actually like 3 episodes ago, I believe it was. It might have been last week. Either way, recently we were talking about the eventual soft tanking that will start when the Pistons start randomly sitting their guys out with, guys like Bojan and guys like Burks. They start randomly sitting out with soreness to the shoulder, soreness to the wrist, or whatever. And I said they was probably going to start in like a few weeks or something. It could be starting right now. It could be starting immediately already. Mike Curtis, beat writer for the Detroit News for the Pistons, tweeted out Pistons forward Bojan Bogdanovic is questionable tomorrow for tomorrow's game against the Hornets due to bilateral Achilles tendinopathy. I don't even know how to pronounce that word, but basically Achilles soreness. Do any of us actually believe that he's in with Achilles soreness? Probably not. I don't think any of us really believe that. So if the soft tank's already starting, who benefits the most? First of all, I guess I should say, do I believe it's already starting to happen, the soft tank? Yes, probably. I think Bojan's probably getting shut down pretty soon here. I wouldn't be surprised if Alec Burks also follows him soon. Now, probably not as early as Bojan, but I wouldn't be shocked if Burks also joins him in a few weeks here. But what I want to talk about is who benefits the most, who's going to be getting the most minutes, who gets into the rotation, et cetera, if Bojan indeed is starting to get sat out for the rest of the year, starting tomorrow or Monday night against the Charlotte Hornets. The first name that comes to mind, obviously, is Isaiah Livers. Isaiah Livers, I said in the last podcast, he needs to be getting close to 30 minutes a game. Last game against the Toronto Raptors, he had 29 minutes. He had 11 points. He shot 3 of 4 from deep. Since the Saddiq Bey trade, these 2 games, Toronto and Orlando, after All-Star break, Orlando, he had 9 points, shot 3 of 5 from deep. He played 21 minutes. So Isaiah Livers is someone that we've been very high on over at Locked On Pistons podcast. He's someone that even Troy Weaver has came out and talked about how high he is on Livers. And Livers is obviously, that's the first answer that comes to mind. If Bojan's out, who subs in for him? And I think it's going to be Livers. His connectivity on defense, his overall team defense, and even individual defense is probably the best on the team on perimeter, definitely in the wing room, by far the best defense they have. And then obviously on offense, he keeps the ball moving. He knows what he can and can't do. He's a really good outside shooter. He's soon close to 38% from deep on the season. I want to see what it looks like if he gets even more volume going with more minutes. And then even lately, we've seen him, obviously, this past game against the Raptors, showed off some sneaky athleticism, absolutely posterizing Podol down in the paint. I don't know if any of us thought he had that, even though he's been showing us a little bit of that athleticism on some of these chase down blocks he's been doing. But Isaiah Livers has been someone that I think all of us have been saying for like at least since like halfway through last year, really, I think, that they need to find a way to get him more minutes. He's a guy that we can see being a piece of this team moving forward. His role, his archetype fits exactly what the team needs. And it was only a matter of time until they started finding ways to get him more minutes. They moved Saddiq Bey, and I believe there's a bunch of reasons why they moved Saddiq Bey, but I think one of those reasons is to open up minutes for Isaiah Livers, who they probably were at least equally as high on, or maybe even higher on because of his archetype and what this team needs. They probably felt like he fit what they needed more. and they want to open up more minutes for him. And definitely with this Bojan, if he is being sat out now for the rest of the year, this is the start of it with the Achilles soreness. Isaiah Livers is definitely probably the main person they're thinking about when doing this. And he's going to have a lot of minutes, and I can't wait to see what he does with it. I think this is going to be a big end of the season for Isaiah Livers. I hope he takes full advantage of it. I believe he can. I'm very high on Isaiah Livers of what he can be for this team. Not no all-star. He won't be ISOing out there, whatever, but I think he's a great connector offensively and defensively. He talks the most of anybody on defense, which really helps the overall team defense when someone talks as much as he does. He makes the right pass. He drives and kicks. He's very decisive of what he wants to do offensively. Overall, I'm just very high on what Livers is. I think the majority of fans are as well. So Isaiah Livers is the number one guy who will get the most benefit from Bojan sitting out. The second player that I think could, get a lot of benefits, and I think it's like a three-way tie, to be honest. I think there's like a lot of players that you can put right here, but it's just like, it's kind of like a domino effect. So I think RJ Hampton will get minutes because of this. I think they'll probably try to run 3 guard lineups more often. RJ Hampton can get some more minutes. Diallo could possibly be getting more minutes. Even Killian Hayes, they might try to run Killian Hayes at 3. They might try. I wouldn't be shocked if they tried running like an RJ Hampton, Jane Ivey, and Killian Hayes lineup, and then basically have Killian Hayes be like your 3, and then have him guard like the wing and see how that works. So we know Casey loves the 3 guard lineups. Either way, one thing I do know for sure, if you're giving RJ Hampton more minutes, which we expect him to do moving forward, now that he has a practice, and Livers getting more minutes, I really hope they just cut the rotation down to 9 and just cut Corey Joseph completely out of it. There's no reason why Kojo should be getting minutes. RJ Hampton, you have Jane Ivey, you have Killian Hayes. Those 3 guys should soak up all the minutes. And then really, if you want to go 3 guard line, like I said, you could put Killian Hayes at 3, but all the minutes at the 3 spot should be soaking up by Livers, Diallo, and one of the guards, either Hampton or Killian Hayes, whichever one they want to go with. So those are the guys I think will get the most benefit from Bojan potentially being shut down. Now, as a beneficial, he's not being shut down for the year, but I think this is a sign of things to come. I think Livers is the first guy, and then really just the rest of the guard rotation that could be bumped up 2 3s, like I said, in Diallo, Hampton, and Killian Hayes. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this is the beginning of the end for Bojan in Detroit? Do you guys think if Bojan were to get shut down, do you think we see him again? And do you guys just overall think that they are actually moving in the direction of shutting him down for the season? This is just the start of it. Let me know that in the comment section down below. Also, let me know who you guys think will get the most benefit from Bojan not playing. So let me know all that in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Cooker Hill. When we come back, I want to talk about how James Wiseman has looked through 3 games with the Detroit Pistons after the trade with Saddiq Bey. How has James Wiseman looked? We're going to talk about that when we come back. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, PrizePicks. So let's go ahead and assume with MLB coming around, you could do the same example with the MLB. But let's just assume the NFL was still going on. And you want to take the over on Jared Goff's passing yards. You want to take the over on, let's say, DeAndre Swift's rushing yards. But you also want to take the over on Jane Ivey's assist. You want to take the over on James Wiseman rebounds. And you want to put in the exact same entry. You can do that at PrizePicks, and it's why it's my favorite daily fantasy option out there. You pick 2 to 6 players to see if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection. You can win up 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app. Go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100 with PrizePicks. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So I know we've obviously talked a lot about James Wiseman since he played his first game. Obviously, he's the big acquisition at the trade deadline. He brought a lot of eyes back to the Pistons from the Pistons fan base. A lot of people just want to see, what does Wiseman look like? Was he a good pickup? He's a big name because he was a second overall pick. They traded Sadiq Bey for him. He was a fan favorite. So everyone's been wanting to see what James Wiseman's looked like. And I think that we've talked a ton about him. I think we've done a lot of coverage on him for obviously the right reasons. But I think we've done a good job covering him. I wasn't planning on coming on the podcast today, though, and talking about him. I thought we had talked about him enough. However, I was scrolling Twitter, and Jack Kelly, who we've had on the podcast before, he's a writer over at Detroit Bad Boys, does tremendous work over there. Also is a tremendous Twitter follow. If you guys are on Twitter, I definitely should check him out at Jack_Kelly_313. He's a Pistons fan from Australia. We've had him on the podcast. I encourage you guys to go listen to that podcast. We recorded with him. It was a lot of fun. But he does tremendous stuff, tweets out great content, stats, analysis, etc. So I really respect what Jack has to say. Either way, he tweeted this out, and this made me want to come on the podcast and talk about James Wiseman. So he tweets out, James Wiseman, 3 games with Detroit, 9.7 points, 8.3 rebounds, 22.6 minutes, 50.2 true shooting percentage. So just on those stats, obviously, I've seen those stats. I've seen his points per game stats, his rebounds, his minutes. I've known that his efficiency hasn't been the greatest for the Pistons at 50.2 shooting percentage. But I have not looked in deeply yet into how the Pistons have performed with him on the floor in these games, these 3 games, and how they've performed with him off the floor. There's 2 reasons why I haven't done that yet. One, because it's such a small sample size, such small minutes, that I don't want to read too much into it. So I've been waiting to do so. That's why I haven't looked at it yet. And secondly, I just haven't really thought about doing it yet, to be honest. I was planning on doing it probably after like a month or so, to get to be able to have a much bigger sample size. However, the numbers right now for it, I think, are enough to talk about it at least a little bit right now. And the defensive rating with him on the floor is 104.2, and the offensive rating with him on the floor is 110.7, which is a team best over the last 3 games, a team best net rating of plus 6.5 of anyone on the Pistons that's played. So what do I think about that? Obviously, the Pistons have been better with him on the floor. I think that if you've watched the Pistons over the last 3 games, your eye test could tell you that. Doesn't mean you shouldn't. I'm not one of those guys that say just rely on the eye test. You guys know I'm big with the numbers too. So the numbers can back up the eye test. I think they do here. Secondly, I don't want to spend too much with just the numbers. I want to take the numbers, pull them out, and segue into a different takeaway here. And that's, Wiseman's been better than I thought he was going to be. And I think there's some people who are still, that just weren't fans of it when the trade happened, that still just holding on that he hasn't looked good and they don't like him, etc. And that's fine. If you weren't a fan of the trade and you just don't think he has it in him, and whatever, you can have whatever opinion. That's fine. But for me, from the stuff that I had read about him, from the negatives that we were told about him, from what all Pistons fans and people I talked to within the Pistons community, what their thoughts on James Wiseman, my expectations coming into seeing him play for the Pistons were not very high. I thought that we talked about when they made the trade initially for him. If Troy Weaver is trusting his player evaluations and he had him at the top of his board in 2020 and he has a chance to go get him, I have to believe there's something in there that I'm not seeing, because I have to trust Weaver's player evaluation, because that's what he hangs his hat on. If I can't trust that, Pistons are doomed. So I was trusting that initially, but I had some doubt. I did. Based on what we've seen through 3 games, he's been way better than I thought he would be. I can't lie. If you want me to be honest, I don't feel like I don't understand how anybody could watch him over the last 3 games and feel any differently. He's been much better. And not even offensively, it's defensively that he's been much better for me. I did not think he'd be this good defensively for the Pistons already. Now, when I say this good, Don't get it confused. I'm not saying that oh my God, I can't believe he's all NBA defense already. Like, no, not that. I think he's probably been average defensively, maybe a little bit below average, but probably average defensively for the Pistons. We were told, and what a lot of people were saying about Wiseman when they made this trade, that he was going to be like Marvin Bagley bad defensively, to where he can get played off the floor, he gets attacked relentlessly, like, and just doesn't know what's going on, like all that kind of stuff. We were told that he was going to be an absolute terrible defender with the Pistons. And through 3 games, I've seen the complete opposite. I don't see either, again, we've said this before, but either he wasn't good defensively with the Warriors and he's trying more with the Pistons, or the Pistons are just using him in ways the Warriors weren't trying. I don't know what it is. But we've seen him. I'm just go through this. I've tweeted out a bunch of clips from him defensively. So if you want to see those, go follow me on Twitter. I'm always tweeting out clips that I find interesting and to back up some of the things I say. So definitely follow me on Twitter, again, at Kuka Hill. But I've tweeted out a bunch of clips. There's been reps where he's done a tremendous job in drop coverage. There was one play I'm just going to bring up here against the Orlando Magic when he was in drop coverage against Franz Wagner coming downhill. Now, I think something that's helped him is that the Pistons have a defender at the point of attack like Killian Hayes, who was in this possession I'm about to bring up, who does a good job of trying to get over to the screen and staying attached to the guy even though he's coming downhill, so that helps. I don't know if they had that over in Golden State in the minutes he was playing on, but either way, Killian Hayes does a good job staying on Wagner's hip, but nonetheless, it's still a good drop rep here. Franz Wagner's coming downhill. In the center, also, Wendell Carter Jr., he's coming down rolling. So Wiseman has to play both in drop coverage, kind of like center field. And he does a good job taking away the roll while also staying in front of Wagner. Wagner eventually gets to the rim, tries to go up with a left-hand layup, and Wiseman times it perfectly and gets a great contest on the shot and forces a miss. That was just a tremendous rep. Now, that's just one play, but that's just a play that I can think of right now that really stuck out to me. He's done a few really good defensive reps and drop coverage. And then there's been a few coverages when he switched out on the perimeter, took away a drive, a guy kicks out after he takes away that drive. They try to come around that drive, force the switch again on the Wiseman, and then Wiseman switches like 2 to 3 times in one possession and sticks pretty well multiple times of possession. It's been pretty impressive. Now, there has been times where he's missed assignments. That's happened. There's been times where it seems like him and some of his teammates have been on miscommunication about what they've wanted between each other. I think that has more to do with him just not being comfortable with his teammates not being comfortable with him. That will come along with more reps and as he plays with the Pistons. And then the biggest negative, though, defensively, has been his defensive rebounding. The defensive rebounding in the past game against the Toronto Raptors in the first half was terrible. Absolutely terrible. He couldn't secure a defensive rebound for his life. It was awful. And that's one of the biggest parts of playing defense as a big man, securing that defensive stop. You have to be able to do that. And he was horrible at it in the first half against the Raptors. In the second half, way better. He came out in the second half and just flipped the switch, played so much better, was so much more attentive, was so much more decisive on both ends of the floor. And then overall, again, like I said, the defensive rebounding is the part that he needs to improve on the most, I feel like. But overall, defensively, he's been much better than I thought he would be. I see a really good defender in there that can be crafted with reps. Like, I was worried that he was going to play, and I was going to see a player that just can't be – there's just not tools there to be a good defender, and you just have to hope he becomes a really good offensive player. I feel like that's kind of where we're at with Marvin Bagley. That's not the case at all with Wiseman. I see a lot – there's a lot for me to be intrigued about defensively with him. Based on what I've seen so far, he's not there yet at all. He's not there yet at all. Don't get confused. I'm not calling him a great defender. I'm not even calling him a good one yet. I think he's been average for the Pistons thus far. Maybe a little bit below average. But the tools are there. I can see him doing a lot of different things with the Pistons, and it's making me incredibly interested in seeing him play next to Duren. I want to know what they have in mind, because Wiseman's hip mobility, how quickly he's able to switch his hips, he's pretty athletic, and the way, again, combining those two things, based on some of the reps I've seen, makes me think that he might be able to switch on the perimeter pretty often, handle himself. I've seen a few really good drop reps from him too, which makes me believe he might be able to, in the long run, in the future, be able to be a guy that can drop and switch. I'm just really interested, man. I'm really interested in it. And then I know I spent this whole segment talking about his defense because I think that's what really needed to be talked about. It had been much better than I thought it would be. But even offensively, he hasn't been that efficient. But I think that will get better. Now, mind you, he's only playing like close to 23 minutes a game in these 3 games, and he's already damn near having a double in those 23 minutes. But his efficiency hasn't been that great, but I think that has a lot to do with the fact that, again, he's not comfortable with his teammates, and his teammates aren't comfortable with him. They don't feed him the ball when he seals a switch underneath the rim. They're not used to a big guy being able to do that. Anytime there's a switch, he seals underneath the rim. He has it. That could be easy points, easy looks, easy scores for him and the offense. They don't get that. There's been some times when he set screens and him and the pick and roll ball handler aren't on the same page with like the timing of the rolls. He doesn't set great screens right now. Doesn't make a lot of contact on them when he should. So there's just a lot of things that go into it, which I think has more to do with this knowing how his teammates play, and his teammates need to know how he plays. So I think as the season goes on, you'll see that get better, because I think it's been a lot of randomness, to be honest, with him offensively right now. I don't think they have a great idea of how to use him offensively, and I think that comes back to coaching too, which I also think the coaching staff will get a better idea of how to use him as the year goes on. But overall, I think he's exceeded expectations through 3 games. We'll come back and look at the sample size in a month like I wanted to, but Jack tweeting this out, I didn't know that the Pistons were this good with him on the floor already through 3 games. Now, it's incredibly small sample size. Again, it could easily change, and just really one game could change it. A few games could change it. But so far, so good, and he's been better than I thought. So let me know in the comment section down below. Has Wiseman been better than you guys thought he was going to be? Has he met the expectations? Or do you guys even think he hasn't? Do you think we're all wrong? We're missing it, and he hasn't performed to expectations? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Cougar Hill. When we come back, can the Pistons actually make these 4 big men work? Is there a future where all 4 of these big men are part of this team? We're going to talk about that when we come back. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, Built Bar. Looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories? Then you got to try Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me and you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise the taste, man, I've got the thing for you. You got to try Built Bar. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, 100% real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, which is my favorite, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy for you. Only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, with a whopping of 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been telling you to order your Built Bars at Built.com. But now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk to the pharmacy section. Grab yourself a Built Bar box. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. Again, you can go to Built.com to try the Built Bar. You can go to Sam's Club or Walmart. Check out one of those options to try the best tasting protein bar out there. That's Built Bar. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. I'm not going to keep you guys long with this third segment, but I want to talk about this because Marvin Bagley had a tremendous game against the Raptors, 21 points, 18 rebounds. And it got a lot of people saying, oh my God, can these 4 big men work? Is this finally what the Pistons have been picturing with the big man lineup? Can they have all 4 of these guys for the future? So I just want to give my opinion on that real quickly. I don't think that is a realistic option for a few reasons. One, I don't think everyone should let one game from Marvin Bagley, where he played really well, make everyone forget what Marvin Bagley has shown us so far, and that is that he's not good at all defensively. It's been hard to find a role for him defensively where he's not getting picked on, and he hasn't been a passable defender, I should say. Just leave it at that. And when you play him and Stu together, which is going to be reason number 2, just hold on. But when you play him and Stu together, they have struggled for the majority of the season. Now, this past game, they did a fine job. But for the rest of the season, we remember when they were starting together, it was horrific defensively. They were getting destroyed on the glass, destroyed in the paint. Defense was just non-existent. Why do I bring up him and Stu playing together? Well, one of them are going to have to be a 5. Because unless, so look, this is what it comes down to. You have Duren, Stu, Bagley, Wiseman. I'm assuming everyone's accepting that Duren and Wiseman are 5s. Or Duren and Wiseman potentially end up playing together, which we have been told they want to get a look at. They just haven't been able to because Duren, who's going to be out for tomorrow's game or tonight's game against the Hornets, he's going to be out. He's dealing with injury. I don't know when he'll come back. We might not even get a lot of minutes with those two guys, but we know for a fact that that's something that the coaching staff and the front office wants to see. So if Duren and Wiseman is something that they believe could be the front court pairing, then you're getting Isaiah Stewart and Bagley off the bench if you believe in these 4 guys. I don't believe that's a sustainable back or front court to have on the floor where you have Stu and Bagley on the floor together. I don't think they rebound good enough. They don't provide enough spacing, I feel like, as of right now. And then defensively in the paint, I think they have issues like we saw when they were starting together for that. I believe it was like 3 weeks they were starting together or a month. I don't believe that can work. That's reason number 1 and 2. If they don't believe Wiseman and Duren can play together and they want to start Duren and Stu long-term, and then you play Wiseman and Bagley off the bench, that doesn't work either unless Wiseman becomes like a 3-point shooter, because then you have 0 spacing and 2 guys that play the exact same way offensively, maybe 1 guy with a little bit more talent potentially and skill, but overall 2 guys that want to play in the same area. So that doesn't work either. That's the second problem. And then the next problem that you run into, if the Pistons get Wembanyama, one of those guys go. Like they're gone. One of them has to go because Wemby's going to be playing your 4. I don't think Wemby will be a 3. So one of those guys have to go anyways. So I just don't see, look, it's fun to see Bagley play the way he did. Give him tremendous credit. It's fun to finally see the Pistons be able to play 2 big men on the floor, whether that's Wiseman and Stu or Stu and Bagley or Wiseman and Bagley, whatever. And obviously Duren, but I'm not including Duren because he's out. Like I said, I don't know how long he'll be out. It's been fun to see that in that past game against Toronto. It was fun. But I just don't want everyone to get, too excited and start making declarations that just, probably isn't realistic. As of right now, I don't see the pathway to where these 4 guys are actually your front court moving into the future where they're trying to compete. Right now, I can't see that. Again, unless Wiseman becomes a better 3-point shooter, unless Bagley improves tremendously defensively and rebounding, there's a lot of things that would have to happen. So we'll see how the rest of this season plays out. More so, we just want to have fun. We want to see them play well individually. We're not too worried about that. But I did see a lot of people start to talk about the future with those guys. And like, oh my God, is this it? And I was like, oh, I just want to come on here and be like, okay, just let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's not get out of pocket with it. So that's just my overall thoughts with that. Just want to hit on that real quickly. I did see a lot of people, fans and people who cover the team, talking about that. So just wanted to give my opinion on that real quick. Let me know what you guys think about that. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button over at the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to us on. And until next time, stay safe. Go Pistons tonight against the Hornets. It should be a game that a lot of Pistons should be able to get back on track. The Hornets are not good defensively. They should get some easy buckets, see the ball go through the rim. So should be a good game for a lot of guys. But until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.